Hello everybody, welcome back to your favorite and most trusted channel, vegyanghar. Today we have brought for you JNU 2020 MSc Life Science entrance exam paper with explanations. So let us dive into this video. Our first question is, oxidation of fatty acids in mitochondria generates blank as end product. The fatty acid obtained from the breakdown of triglyceride and other lipids are oxidized through a series of reactions called beta oxidation. In each round of beta oxidation, one molecule of acetyl-CoA, one molecule of NADH, one molecule of FADH2 are produced. Acetyl-CoA hence is the final product coming from beta oxidation that enters into the citric cycle. So the correct answer here is option number C, acetyl-CoA. Second, the diffusion current in a PN junction is. The diffusion current is a current in semiconductor which is a result of diffusion of charge carriers or the electrons. So to answer this question, we just need to find the direction of flow of electrons. Now in a PN junction, the electron diffuses from the P side to the N side. This occurs due to the concentration gradient across P and N side, which gives rise to the current across the junction. So the correct answer to this question is option number B, from P side to the N side. Our next question is, in a PCR experiment, 1 nanogram of 1000 base pair PCR template was amplified using specific primers. Assuming 100% efficiency of the PCR reaction, the amount of 100 base pair fragment after 10 cycles of PCR is about. So we know that the number of double-stranded DNA pieces is doubled in each cycle, so that after n cycle you have 2 to the power n copies of DNA. Now if we start with 1 nanogram, after 10 cycles we would have 2 to the power 10 or approximately 1000 nanograms of DNA. So the correct option here is option number C, 1000 nanograms. Our next question is, those parasites capable of switching to saprophytic mode of nutrition are known as. The correct answer to this question is option number A, facultative saprophytes. A facultative saprophyte is an organism that generally obtains nutrition from living matter, but can obtain even from the dead organic matter too. Our next question is, following are the two sets of experiments for studying the effect of light treatment on seed germination. Water-soaked seeds were treated with specific lights sequentially as mentioned below. So let's have a look at the sets. So the set 1 is red light, far red light, and then red light. The set 2 says far red light, and again red light. Now it is asking which of the following is likely to be observed. Now all seeds need water, oxygen and proper temperature in order to germinate. Some seeds also require proper light. Some germinate better in full light while others require darkness to germinate. It is mainly the light effect upon a plant pigment called phytochrome within the seeds. In general, the light in red wavelength usually promotes the germination, whereas the blue light inhibits it. Further, in the red light, the formation of anthocyanin is stimulated while it is inhibited in presence of the far red light. So when the plants are exposed to the red light, which promotes germination, and far red light, which inhibits germination in a sequence, the growth is reversed to a level produced by the last light treatment in sequence and not the levels obtained in darkness. So here when you see the last light exposure in both the groups is red light. So both the sets are going to germinate at equal rate. So the correct answer to this question is option number C, both sets will germinate equally in the given experimental setup. Our next question is, match the names of scientists in list 1 with the model organism they have worked with in list 2. Now we know that Mendel discovered the basic principle of heredity through experiments with the pea plant. Thomas Hunt Morgan, or the T.H. Morgan, worked with fruit fly Drosophila to establish the chromosomal theory of inheritance. He showed that genes are linked in a series of chromosomes and are responsible for identifiable and hereditary traits. Hershey and Chase, they concluded that DNA, not the proteins, was the genetic material, and for that they were working with bacteriophages. So the correct match here is A goes with pea plant, that is second. Thomas Hunt Morgan goes with Drosophila, and Hershey and Chase goes with bacteriophage. So option number C is the correct answer. The next question is, what is the value of this given equation? Now, to find out the integration of x to the power n, this is the particular formula. Here we have x to the power 2 dx. So we can write it like this: x to the power 2 plus 1 upon 2 plus 1. This will give us x to the power 3 upon 3. Now, so finally I have this value of the function fx, which is x to the power 3 upon 3. Now we are going to put on the limits. So it is starting from 2, goes up to 3. So what we are going to do, we are going to have f3 minus f2. So we'll just put the values of x. In place of x, we are going to put 3 in the first reaction, in the first equation, and 2 in the second equation. So with this, when we calculate, we are going to get an answer which is 19 upon 3. So the correct answer to this question is option number B, 19 by 3. The next question is, the deadly disease of rust in wheat is caused by? The stem rust, also known as the black rust disease, is caused by the fungus Oxenia gramine. So the correct answer to this question would be option number B. The next question is, in Arabidopsis thaliana, a gene called Leafy, the LFY gene, encodes transcription factor LFY. Plants with LFY mutation, A, do not make leaves beyond the rosette stage. B, they make sterile flowers. C, they show phyllotaxy. And D, they show delayed flowering. Now the Leafy gene, which causes the group of undifferentiated cells called the meristem to develop into the flower instead of leaves. Leafy is a unique plant transcription factor which is responsible for formation of earliest floral stages. It also induces the hemolytic genes that trigger the floral organ determination. So the most appropriate answer here would be the option number B, they make sterile flowers, and statement number D, they show delayed flowering. So here let's have a look at the options. In my option number D, it calls for statement B and D. So here my correct answer would be option number D. Next question is, matching the plant diseases in list 1 with respective causative agents in list 2. A, the red rot disease is caused by a fungus called Totrichum falciparum. B, the brown rot of potato is caused by a bacterium, and the bacteria is known as Ralstonia species. Third, the spotted wilt of tomato is caused by a virus known as the tomato spotted wilt virus of the genus Tospovirus. And finally, the little leaf of brinjal, or also known as the abnormal development of floral parts into leafy structure, is generally caused by phytoplasma disease of vegetable crop. So the correct answer is A is matched with fungi, B is matched with bacteria, C is matched with a virus, and D is matched with phytoplasma. And the correct option would be option number D. Again, my next question is, match the following descriptions of list of terms. BOD stands for the biological oxygen demand, represents the amount of oxygen consumed by bacteria and other microorganisms while they decompose the organic matter under aerobic or the oxygen is present. Eutrophication is a gradual increase in concentration of phosphorus, nitrogen and other plant nutrients in an aging aquatic ecosystem such as a lake. Finer species are the hardy species, which are the first to colonize a barren environment or previously the biodiverse steady state ecosystem that has been disrupted. And finally, the saprophytes are the fungi that feed on dead plant and animal remains. So the correct match here is option number D, where A matches with biological oxygen demand, B, finer species matches with species that invade bare areas, eutrophication matches with the natural aging of lake, and saprophytes matches with the fungi. Option number D is the correct answer. Our next question is, neck vertebra in all birds are, and the options are fixed in number, variable in number, fused, membranous and calcified. We have to choose amongst the given options. So, the birds have more neck vertebra than any other animals. The number varies from say 13 to 25. And this makes their neck very flexible so that it can groom its feather and it can go directly from head up to the tail. So in order to provide that flexibility to the neck, they have large number of neck vertebra. Plus, the number of neck vertebra is a variable number. It can vary from 13 to 25. So amongst the given option, the only correct option is B, variable in number. And here our right answer would be option number D, which says B only. Next, identify the correct statement regarding hemoglobin. So both carbon monoxide and oxygen bind to hemoglobin at the same binding site. In fact, hemoglobin binds carbon monoxide with 200 times more affinity than with the oxygen, resulting in formation of the carboxyhemoglobin and preventing the binding of oxygen to hemoglobin because they are competing for the same binding site. So the correct answer to this question would be option number C. Oxygen and carbon monoxide binds to the same site on hemoglobin. Our next question is, which one of the following molecule is an exception to the octet rule? Now there are three general exceptions to the octet rule. Molecules with an odd number of electrons, such as the nitric oxide, molecules in which one or more atoms possess more than 8 electrons, for example the SF6. And the third exception is molecules such as the BCl3 in which one or more atoms possess less than 8 electrons. The two elements that most commonly fail to complete an octet are the boron and aluminium. They both readily form compounds in which they have 6 valence electrons rather than the usual 8, which is predicted by the octet rule. So as you can see in this particular structure, F completes its octet by sharing electrons with the boron, while boron shares only 3 electrons from F, from each of the F atoms, and has only 6 electrons in its outermost shell. So the option number B, boron trifluoride, is the one which is an exception of our octet rule. The next question is, which of the following herbivores, when crowded and starved, become cannibalistic? This change in diet accompanied by rapid conversion of the midgut from long winding canal into a much shorter passageway. Now, when in an overcrowded space, some tiger salamander larvae, they morph larger. They have a flatter head. They have teeth that are 3 times bigger than their siblings. And all the body features are perfect for eating up any other larva that tickles their taste buds. So, option number B, the salamander larva, is the correct answer to this question. My next question is, Rohit extracted DNA from epithelial cells and found the presence of 27% cytosine. He calculated the percentage composition of rest of the bases. Now we have to choose the correct answer. Now, as per the Chargaff's rule in a double-stranded DNA, the percentage of A is going to be equal to percentage of T and percentage of C is going to be equal to percentage of G. Hence, both C and G are going to account for 54%. That is 27% of C and 27% of G. That leaves us with 46%. Now, the A and T are going to make the rest of 46%. So, 23% of A, 23% of T, 27% of cytosine and 27% of guanine is going to be our correct answer for this question. Next, in the severe hemolytic disease of newborn called erythroblastosis fetalis, which diagnostic test can be used to detect anti-Rh antibodies in mother's serum? In the given options, the indirect Combs test is done on the sample of liquid part of the blood, which is serum. The indirect Combs test finds anti-D antibodies in the mother's serum. If these were to come in contact with the fetal RBCs, they would hemolyze them and hence cause the hemolytic disease of newborn, also known as the HDN. Now, by finding maternal anti-D before fetal RBCs have been attacked, treatment can be given to prevent or limit the severity of HDN. So, the correct answer to this question is going to be option number B, indirect Combs test. The next question is, match the following cleavage patterns in list 1 with their examples in list 2. In this figure, you can see that there are several types of cleavage symmetries as seen in nature. The radial symmetry is found in echinoderms, amphibians. Spiral symmetry is found in annelids, mollusks. Bilateral symmetry is found in tunicates. Rotational symmetry is found in nematodes, mammals. And superficial symmetry can be found in most of the insects. So, based on this particular table, I have marked all the, you can mark all the patterns here, and the option number D, where radial symmetry marks to the echinoderms, rotational symmetry marks to the nematodes, bilateral symmetry is for tunicates, and superficial symmetry goes for the insects such as Drosophila is going to be our correct answer. Our next question is, during gluconeogenesis, one of the following conversions is catalyzed by an enzyme that is different from the enzyme that does reverse conversion during glycolysis. Identify it. Now, in the process of gluconeogenesis, it's actually considered a reverse process of glycolysis. But there are three different enzymes. These key enzymes are pyruvate carboxylase, fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase, and glucose 6-phosphatase. Pyruvate carboxylase converts pyruvate into oxaloacetate. Fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase converts fructose 1,6-bisphosphate to fructose 6-phosphate, and glucose 6-phosphatase converts your glucose 6-phosphate into glucose. So from the given option, option number D, conversion of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate to fructose 6-phosphate is the correct answer. Our next question is, match certain properties of light in list 1 with the corresponding phenomena given in list 2. Now, the bouncing back of light rays after hitting any surface without any change in media is known as reflection. Refraction is the change in direction of light passing from one media into another media, and this happens because there is a change in speed. Interference is the phenomena in which two waves superimpose to form a resultant wave, and this resultant wave could be lower or higher or have the same amplitude. Such as in destructive interference, light waves of opposite phases and equal amplitude may meet and they can cancel out each other, hence they can produce darkness. And finally, the phenomena of restricting the vibrations of light in a particular direction which is perpendicular to the direction of wave motion is known as polarization. So here the correct matches would be reflection matches with the change in path of light without change in the media. Diffraction matches with the change in path of light due to change in medium. Interference would be light added to light produces darkness, and polarization would be restricting the vibration of electric vector into a particular direction. All these options are given in option number C, so option number C is going to be the correct answer. My next question is, what anticodon sequences would pair with codon 5' AUG 3', assuming only Watson-Crick base pairing? The first codon of the anticodon in 5' direction is going to form a bond with the third base of the codon which is reading it, right? So thus, if the base sequence in the codon of mRNA is 5' AUG to the 3', the complementary anticodon could either be UAC if written from 3' to 5' direction, or 5' to 3', I will have to write it as CAU. So let's explore the options, and option number A, UAC in 3' to 5' direction is going to be the correct answer. Now the next question is, a committee of 3 persons is to be constituted from a group of 2 men and 3 women. How many combinations are possible for making a committee which consists of 1 man and 2 women? So here is the formula to calculate the required number of ways. It is given by NCR, and this particular abbreviation stands for n factorial upon r factorial into n minus r factorial. Here n is going to be your total number, while r is going to be your required number. So here, what is the total number for men? For men we have total 2, and for women we have total 3. Now, the ways of selecting 1 man out of 2 would be 2C1. So let's calculate it. 2 factorial upon 1 factorial into 2 minus 1 factorial is going to give us a value of 2. Now, ways of selecting 2 women would be 3. Total is 3, and we have to select 2. So from here we have this formula, 3 factorial upon 2 factorial into 3 minus 2. So finally, after calculation we get a value of 3. Now it says that the committee should consist of 1 man and 2 women. So the number of ways of selecting 1 man and 2 women together is going to be 2 into 3. So it gives the answer 6. So our option number C, 6 is going to be the correct answer. Next question is, in tomato plant, red fruit, capital R, is dominant to yellow, small r, and tallness, capital T, is dominant to short, small t. What phenotypic and genotypic ratios would result if one of the parent plant is red homozygous and tall homozygous, and other is red heterozygous and tall heterozygous? Since one of the parent has both dominant homozygous traits, the progeny will show dominant traits. That is, it will show red and tall traits phenotypically. But since the other parent is a heterozygous for both these traits, genotypically there will be 4 different types of plants that exist. So looking at the option, our option number C, phenotypically all are red and tall, but genotypically 4 different types of plants exist, is going to be the correct answer. Our next question is, in a new species, methylated guanosine is recognized as a distinct nucleotide by translation system apart from the 4 normal nucleosides. Now, how many unique triplet codons are possible? According to this question, apart from a conventional four bases, the U, C, A and G, there's another base, the methylated guanosine, which is considered as a unique base for formation of genetic codes. Now, any single set of three nucleotides which code for amino acid is called as a codon. Considering there are 5 bases, the 4 conventional one plus this one methylated guanosine, we have 5 to the power 3 or 125 different combinations of codon. So option number B, 125 is going to be the correct answer. This is our next question. Which one of the following statements with respect to amphibian development is true? So let's have a look at the statements. The first statement says that it follows meroblastic superficial cleavage pattern. But in amphibians, the cleavage is holoblastic radial. So this particular option is incorrect. The second statement says gastrulation begins with invagination of bottle cells followed by coordinated involution of mesoderm cell. Yes, that's true. Gastrulation begins with the invagination of bottle cells and it is further coordinated by the mesodermal cells. So option number B is the correct answer to this question. Next question is, in a population, 240 individuals have been exposed to pesticide A1, 100 individuals have been exposed to pesticide A2, and 60 individuals have been exposed to both pesticide A1 and A2. Now, which of the following statement is correct? So here we have 60 individuals who are exposed to both A1 and A2. Now let's say this blue circle is representing the ones that are exposed to A1, that is 240. This yellow is representing those individuals who are exposed to A2, that is 100 individuals. Now, those exposed specifically to A1 would be 240 minus this 60, be 180 individuals, and those exposed to specifically A2 would be 100 minus this 60 individuals. So we'll have a number of 40. Now let's read out the options. The number of individuals exposed to pesticide A1 but not A2 is 90. So there's no number 90 here. So this one is incorrect. The number of individuals exposed to pesticide A2 but not A1 is 90. Again, incorrect. The number of individuals exposed to pesticide A1 but not pesticide A2 is 180. So this particular answer is correct. So the correct answer to this question is going to be option number C. Our next question is, during metabolic conversion, transfer of C1 units is mediated by all of the following except. In one carbon metabolism contains 3 critical reactions: the folate cycle, the methionine cycle, and transsulfuration pathway. In folate cycle, one carbon transfer reactions are mediated by tetrahydrofolate, a soluble coenzyme vitamin B9 that is synthesized de novo by plants and microorganisms and is absorbed from diets in case of animals. In methionine cycle, SAM or the S-adenosyl methionine serves both hydrocarbon and as a polyamine. The transsulfuration pathway is essential for synthesis of glutathione, which is involved in production of the reactive oxygen species. So from the given option, option number D, 7,8-dihydrofolate is not involved in transfer of C1 units. So the correct answer to this question is going to be option number D. Our next question is, which of the following statement about Chargaff's rule is false? The first statement is, largely the ratio of purine to pyrimidine is 1:1. B, adenine plus guanine is equal to thymine plus cytosine. C, adenine plus thymine is equal to guanine plus cytosine. And D, adenine plus guanine plus thymine plus cytosine is equal to 1. Now we know that Chargaff's rule are the major benchmark rule which is used to study nucleic acid distribution in DNA strings. Some of the common adaptations of Chargaff's rule for a double-stranded DNA are these. Here you can see that percentage of A is equal to T and percentage of G is equal to C. Purine bonds with pyrimidine always. A is always equal to T and G is always equal to C. A plus G is equal to C plus T. That is, total number of double-stranded DNA purines is going to be total number of DNA pyrimidines. A plus T upon G plus C is going to be constant for a species. So based on these adaptations, we can see that statement number C and D are wrong, and our correct answer is going to be option number C, which says C and D only. Our next question is, Bragg's law states the relationship between incident direction of wave from diffraction plane and wavelength lambda of the radiation, where D is the interplanar spacing, N is any integer theta which represents the incidence angle. Which of the following equation is correct? The Bragg's law was introduced by Sir W. H. Bragg and his son Sir W. L. Bragg. The law states that the X-ray is incident onto a crystal surface. Its angle of incidence, that is theta, will reflect back with the same angle of scattering theta. And when the path difference d is equal to a whole number n of the wavelength, a constructive interference is going to occur. The equation for this reaction is 2d sine theta is equal to n lambda, where lambda is the wavelength, d is the spacing, theta is the angle of incidence, and n is any integer. So the correct answer to this question is going to be option number A. Our next question is, which one of the following cytoskeletal filaments is less dynamic in nature? And the correct answer to this question is option number C, intermediate filament. The cytoskeleton is a dynamic structure where three major filaments and tubules are under the influence of various proteins that regulate their length, the state of polymerization, and their level of cross-linking. The functions are primarily mechanical. So the intermediate filaments are the ones that are less dynamic as compared to the actin filaments and the microtubules. The intermediate filaments commonly work in tandem with the microtubules, providing strength, support for the fragile tubular structures. So like I said, the option number C is the correct answer. Our next question is, sedimentation coefficient of E. coli ribosome is 70S, where S stands for Swidbergs, a unit used to measure how fast a molecule moves in the centrifuge. A particle's mass, density, and shape determines its S, or the Swidberg's value. So the correct answer here is option number B. The next question is, which one of the following sentences is not related to beta diversity? The beta diversity measures the change in diversity of species from one environment to another. High beta diversity index indicates that a low level of similarity is there, while if there is a low beta diversity index, it shows that there is a high level of similarity. Both option B and A talk about the features of beta diversity that I just described. But the statement C and D, the genetic diversity within a species, is used to measure beta diversity. Beta diversity measures the number of species in a large region. They are not correct for the beta diversity. So our option number C and D only is the correct answer. Next question is, root endodermis plays a crucial role in maintaining water balance in plants for the following reason. Endodermis is the layer present in cortex, as it is made up of surprise matrix of the Casparian strips, which allows only selected flow of minerals inside of the cell by simplest pathway to the xylem, and also contains transport proteins that act as a checkpoint for the entry. It also helps prevent the backflow of water and minerals, as it has the ability to transport minerals and ions in one direction. So both statement A and B are correct, that at endodermis the Casparian strips, they block apoplast pathway, and the Casparian strip is composed of the suberomes. So our right answer would be option number B, which says A and B only. The next question is, match the following animals mentioned in list 1 with the category mentioned in list 2. The panda, tiger, elephants of the world are considered flagship species because they can bring in support for large conservation and biodiversity projects. The Bengal tiger is a flagship species of conservation worldwide and is critically endangered due to habitat loss and poaching. Further, due to a small wild population estimated at less than 250 individuals and a highly restricted range, the pygmy hawk is currently considered as a critically endangered species on the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. Next, the frogs and toads are increasingly used as bioconductor organisms in pollution studies in the past decades. And why so? Since frogs, they can absorb water directly through their skin. They're especially vulnerable to water pollution like pesticides or acid rains. Now, frogs are considered as the indicator species because they are the first to be affected by degradation of the environment. And finally, the keystone species is an organism that helps define an entire ecosystem. Without its keystone species, the ecosystem would be dramatically different or even cease to exist altogether. Bees or insects have been declared as the most important species on the planet, which come as no surprise as they would provide food, shelter to humongous diversity of organisms. Bees, they make perfect example of a keystone species. They promote sustainability among ecosystem by cross-pollination and many different plant species. So with these facts, our option number B, which says A matches to 4, the flagship species, B matches to 3, the keystone species, C matches to 2, the critically endangered species, and D, frogs, matches to 1, the bioindicators, is going to be our correct answer. The next question is, what is the energy of electromagnetic wave with wavelength 80 meters? So they have given us the value of Planck's constant H, and we know E is equal to hc upon lambda. So if we just directly put the values, this is the value of H that is already given. We know the value of C, that is 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second, and the lambda is already given as 80 meters. So we get a value of E, which is 0.249 into 10 to the power minus 26 joules. Now when you look at these options, they're given in electron volts. So this much amount of joules is equal to 1 electron volt, and if you do the maths, you'll get the final answer that 0.249 into 10 to the power minus 26 joules is going to be equal to 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 8 electron volts. So our correct answer is going to be option number D. Alright then, I hope the content was helpful to you. If you have any further doubts, please leave us a comment in the comment section, and do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you soon in our next video. Till then, bye bye.